Take a moment now to find your most comfortable position. Adjust the pillow beneath your head. Feel the weight of the blankets as they settle over you, and allow your shoulders to drop just a fraction of an inch further away from your ears. As you settle in, I want you to know that you are entering a space of profound safety and biological wisdom. We are going to spend some time together tonight exploring the magnificent architecture of your mind, but we will do so with the gentleness of a quiet conversation. Think of me as a guide, or perhaps a curious professor who is just as in awe of your brain as you are. Begin by noticing your breath. You don't need to change it or force it into a specific rhythm. Just observe the cool sensation of the air as it enters your nostrils. Perhaps it feels a bit crisp, like a morning mist, and then feel the subtle warmth as you exhale. This simple act of noticing is the first step in a beautiful biological chain reaction. As you lie there, your body is already beginning a transition. You might feel the texture of the sheets against your skin, the smoothness of the cotton, or the soft weight of a quilt. This is your sense of proprioception at work. Your brain has specialized sensory receptors in your muscles and joints called proprioceptors that are constantly sending data to your somatosensory cortex. Right now, they are signaling to your brain that you are horizontal, supported, and safe. When these signals remain consistent, your brain begins to dial down its alert settings. It's a physical reassurance, a tactile message saying, asterisk, you can let go now. Asterisk. Isn't it remarkable that your body has an entire system dedicated solely to the art of rest and digest? This is your parasympathetic nervous system. Think of it as a soft, velvet curtain being drawn over the high-energy light of the day. One of the primary actors in this process is your vagus nerve. It is the longest cranial nerve in your body, stretching from your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen. Interestingly, research shows that about 80% of the fibers in the vagus nerve are sensory, meaning they are primarily busy sending information times from times the body times up times to the brain, rather than the other way around. By simply slowing your breathing, even just slightly, you are sending a physical signal up that neural highway, telling your brain's emotional centers that the environment is secure. As you feel your muscles soften, imagine that signal traveling upward. In response, your heart rate begins a slow, rhythmic deceleration. In clinical studies, it's been observed that deep, diaphragmatic breathing can reduce cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone, by as much as 25% in a relatively short period. You can almost feel that cortisol receding, like a tide going out, leaving behind a shore of calm, cool sand. While you rest here, something extraordinary is happening inside the delicate tissues of your brain. For a long time, scientists wondered how the brain, which is so metabolically active, managed to clean itself. In 2012, researchers at the University of Rochester discovered what we now call the glymphatic system. It's a waste clearance pathway that functions like a nightly plumbing service. When you enter these deep states of relaxation and eventual sleep, the space between your brain cells actually increases by up to 60%. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to rush in and wash away metabolic debris, such as amyloid beta proteins. This brain-washing process happens 10 times faster during sleep than it does during the day. As you lie there, you can visualize this gentle, internal tide, a clear and refreshing stream circulating through the folds of your mind, keeping everything pristine and refreshed. Notice the temperature of the room. Perhaps there is a slight chill in the air, or the cozy warmth of your cocoon. Your brain is very sensitive to these thermal shifts. As you prepare for deeper rest, your pineal gland begins to secrete melatonin, which does more than just make you feel sleepy. It actually works with your hypothalamus to lower your core body temperature by about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. This drop in temperature is a biological green light for deep sleep. You might feel a pleasant coolness on your forehead or the tips of your fingers as your body redirects heat toward your core and then releases it, preparing your internal systems for the restorative work ahead. As your body cools and your breath steadies, your brain waves begin to change their tune. Throughout the day, you've likely been in a beta state fast, choppy waves associated with active thinking and problem solving. But right now, as you listen to my voice and feel the softness of your bed, you are sliding into alpha waves. These are slower, more rhythmic waves, usually oscillating between 8 and 13 Hertz. Alpha waves are the bridge between the conscious mind and the subconscious. It's that lovely, floaty feeling where thoughts become less like a to-do list and more like a gentle stream of images. In this alpha state, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex planning and self-criticism, starts to quiet down. Neuroscientists call this transient hypofrontality. It's a fancy way of saying that the taskmaster in your head is taking a well-deserved break. The sound of my voice might start to feel like it's coming from a distance, or perhaps it feels like it's weaving into the fabric of your own thoughts. This is perfectly natural. It is the sound of your brain relinquishing control and trusting the process of relaxation. Let's consider the sensation of your limbs. They might feel heavy, as if they are sinking deep into the mattress, or perhaps they feel light, almost as if they are hovering. This is your brain processing the lack of motor input. When you stop moving, your motor cortex enters a state of quiet anticipation. It's no longer needed to navigate the world, so it turns its attention inward. Think about the sheer complexity of what your mind is doing right now, even in its stillness. Even when you aren't doing anything, your brain is utilizing a network called the Default Mode Network, or DMN. This network, involving the medial prefrontal cortex and the posterior cingulate cortex, becomes highly active when we are at rest. It's the system responsible for self-reflection, imagination, and making sense of our life's narrative. While your body is motionless, your DMN is gently knitting together the experiences of your day, filing away memories, and preparing your internal world for tomorrow. It is a form of mental housekeeping that is as essential as breathing. You might notice small sounds in your environment, the hum of a fan, the distant muffled sound of traffic, or the ticking of a clock. In this relaxed state, your thalamus, which acts as the gateway for sensory information, begins to dial down the volume. It starts to filter out these external sounds so they don't disturb your internal peace. It's as if your brain has a sophisticated do not disturb mode that it's currently activating just for you. As you continue to drift deeper into this state of ease, consider the fascinating reality of your heart. In deep relaxation, the variability between your heartbeats actually becomes more rhythmic and coherent. This is called heart rate variability, or HRV. A higher HRV during rest is a hallmark of a resilient and well-regulated nervous system. You are, in this very moment, training your heart and brain to communicate in a language of harmony. Each slow breath you take is a word in that language, a vocabulary of peace that your entire biology understands. The mind is not a machine to be switched off. It is a garden that shifts its activity as the sun goes down. Just as certain flowers only bloom at night, certain neurological processes only activate when you are in this state of profound stillness. You are not losing consciousness. You are transitioning into a different, equally vital form of it. I want you to stay with this feeling of curiosity for a moment. Isn't it wonderful to think that beneath the surface of your awareness, an entire orchestra of neurons is performing a symphony of restoration? Your hippocampus is getting ready to replay your memories at 10 to 20 times their normal speed, a process that helps solidify what you've learned. Your immune system is preparing to release cytokines, small proteins that help your body maintain its health. All of this is happening because you chose to lie down, to breathe, and to listen. As we move forward in this journey, we will go deeper into these hidden hallways of the mind. We will look at the velvet darkness of dreams and the way your brain creates entire worlds out of the echoes of the day. But for now, just stay here in this sensory cocoon. Feel the air, feel the weight of your body, and feel the quiet power of a mind that is finally, beautifully, at rest. You might find yourself wondering, if the mind can do all of this while I am simply lying here, what else is it capable of? What other wonders are waiting in the quiet spaces between my thoughts? We have so much more to explore together, but for this moment, there is nothing you need to do. There is nowhere you need to be. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, supported by the science of your own incredible biology. As the silence stretches out around you, let your mind drift toward the idea of the in-between, that soft, hazy space where the physical world fades and the inner world begins to glow. Your brain is currently preparing the stage for the next phase of this journey, and it is doing so with expert precision. Can you feel that subtle shift, that gentle pull toward the deeper layers of your own consciousness? It's a beckoning toward a place where time moves differently, and where the self becomes something more fluid and expansive. Let that curiosity be a gentle light, guiding you further into the quiet. Consider for a moment the long lineage of humans who have rested exactly as you are resting now. For thousands of years, our ancestors looked at the stars or watched the dying embers of a communal fire, feeling this same heavy-lidded pull toward the internal world. In the ancient world, sleep was often viewed as a divine gift or a mysterious journey. The Greeks spoke of hypnos, the personification of sleep, who was said to touch the weary with a branch of poplar to bring them peace. They didn't have the sophisticated imaging tools we possess today, yet they understood intuitively that this state was a sanctuary for the spirit. It was only relatively recently in our history that we began to peel back the curtain on what is actually happening within the physical structures of the brain during these quiet hours. For a very long time, even the most brilliant medical minds believed that sleep was a passive state, a simple turning off of the lights. It wasn't until 1924 that a German psychiatrist named Hans Berger made a monumental breakthrough. He was the first person to record the electrical activity of a human brain using an electroencephalogram, or EEG. Imagine the scene: a quiet lab, the scratch of a pen on a moving roll of paper, and the sudden realization that the brain never truly stops. Berger was the one who first identified the alpha waves we mentioned earlier, those rhythmic 8 to 13 Hz cycles that appear the second we close our eyes and begin to relax. He proved that even in stillness, our minds are vibrantly alive with electrical energy. Notice how your own mind feels right now. Is it like a vast library at dusk, with the lights being dimmed one by one? Or perhaps it feels more like a calm harbor, where the ships have all been moored for the night. This transition you're feeling is governed by what scientists call the two-process model of sleep regulation, a concept first proposed by Alexander Borbély in 1982. The first process is your circadian rhythm, your internal 24-hour clock. The second is something called sleep pressure. As you go about your day, a chemical called adenosine slowly builds up in your brain. Think of adenosine as a gentle, invisible weight that accumulates with every hour you are awake. It's a byproduct of the energy your cells use. By the time evening arrives, the levels of adenosine in your basal forebrain have reached a peak, creating a powerful biological urge to rest. At this very moment, your brain is working to clear that pressure. It's a beautifully balanced system. The more active your day has been, the more pressure there is to find this deep, restorative relief. What's happening now is a shift in the chemical landscape of your thoughts. Deep within your brain, in a region called the hypothalamus, there is a tiny cluster of about 20,000 neurons known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This is your master clock. When the environment grows dark, the SCN signals the pineal gland to release melatonin into your bloodstream. Melatonin was first discovered in 1958 by a dermatologist named Aaron Lerner, who was actually looking for something else entirely. He found that this hormone of darkness doesn't necessarily put you to sleep itself, but it acts like a lighthouse keeper, signaling to all the other systems in your body that it is time to transition into the night. It's a universal signal shared by almost every living creature on Earth. Picture this: as that melatonin circulates, your brain's relay station, the thalamus, begins to change its behavior. In 2013, a fascinating study published in the journal Times, Current Biology Times, explored how the brain protects its peace. Researchers found that the thalamus generates specific bursts of activity called sleep spindles. These are short, high-frequency bursts of brain waves that last for about half a second. They act like a "do not disturb" sign on a hotel door. These spindles actually block external sensory information, like the sound of a distant car or a slight change in room temperature, from reaching the higher processing centers of your cortex. This allows you to stay in your relaxed state without being startled by the world outside. The more spindles your brain produces, the more resilient your rest becomes. Deep within the history of our species, there is evidence that we have always sought ways to enhance this process. In Neolithic burial mounds and ancient caves, archaeologists have found that the chambers often possess a specific acoustic resonance of 110 Hz. When a human voice chants at this frequency, it can actually shift the brain's activity toward the prefrontal cortex and trigger a state of profound calm. Even without modern technology, our ancestors were master architects of relaxation. You are participating in a tradition of rest that is as old as humanity itself. One of the most captivating discoveries in neuroscience occurred in 1953 in a small, cramped basement lab at the University of Chicago. A graduate student named Eugene Aserinsky and his mentor, Nathaniel Kleitman, noticed that at certain points during the night, a sleeper's eyes would dart rapidly beneath their eyelids. They had discovered REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. Before this moment, we had no idea that the brain cycles through different stages. They found that during REM, the brain is almost as active as it is when we are awake, consuming about 20% of the body's total energy. It was a revelation that changed everything. It meant that while the body is paralyzed in a safe, protective state of atonia, the mind is off exploring, creating, and dreaming. Consider the sheer scale of the work being done while you lie here. In 2016, researchers at the Salk Institute made a staggering discovery about our memory capacity. They found that our synapses, the connections between neurons, can vary in size in ways we hadn't realized before. This led them to calculate that the human brain has a memory capacity of roughly 1 petabyte. To put that in perspective, that's about the same amount of data as the entire World Wide Web. During this phase of your evening, your brain is like a quiet librarian, deciding which bits of that massive data set to keep and which to let go of. This process, known as synaptic pruning, is what allows you to wake up feeling clear-headed. Your brain is literally tidying its own hedges, making room for new growth tomorrow. You might be familiar with the feeling of a heavy heart or a racing mind when things are stressful. But notice the contrast now. In a study from the University of California, Berkeley, scientists found that during REM sleep, the brain completely shuts off the production of norepinephrine, a chemical associated with stress and anxiety. This is the only time in your entire life, day or night, that your brain is completely free of this stress-triggering molecule. This neurochemical bath allows you to process the emotional events of your day in a safe environment, stripped of their sharp edges. It's why problems often seem much smaller and more manageable after a night of rest. Your brain has spent the night performing emotional first aid, wrapping your memories in a soft, protective layer of calm. At this very moment, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles logic and decision-making, is seeing a significant drop in its metabolic rate, sometimes by as much as 25 to 40% in the deeper stages of non-REM sleep. This is why your thoughts might start to feel a bit more whimsical or less grounded in reality. The executive is off the clock, and the artist is beginning to take over. You've experienced this when your thoughts start to take on a dreamlike quality just before you fall asleep. This state is called hypnagogia, and it has been a source of inspiration for countless thinkers throughout history. From Thomas Edison to Salvador Dali, they would intentionally linger in this state to catch the fleeting, creative sparks that only occur when the logical mind is disengaged. Think of your mind right now as a grand, ancient loom. Throughout the day, you've gathered threads of different colors, conversations, sights, sounds, and feelings. Now, in the stillness, the loom begins to move. It's weaving these threads into the tapestry of your life, connecting new information to old wisdom. Scientists have found that during deep sleep, the hippocampus, the brain's center for new memories, literally speaks to the neocortex. It replays the day's events at an accelerated pace, shipping that information off to long-term storage. It's a conversation that happens in the silence, a transfer of knowledge that builds the very foundation of who you are. It's worth noting that this isn't just a mental process, it's a full-body orchestration. As you feel that sense of ease spreading through your limbs, your growth hormone levels are beginning to rise. In adults, about 75% of our daily growth hormone is released during the deepest stages of sleep. This hormone is vital for repairing tissues, strengthening bones, and supporting the immune system. Your body is physically rebuilding itself, cell by cell, while you simply exist in this space of comfort. Scientists were once puzzled by why we spend a third of our lives in this state, but the more we discover, the more we realize that sleep is not a luxury, it is a sophisticated, highly evolved masterpiece of biological engineering. Every minute you spend in this relaxed state is an investment in your well-being. You are allowing your systems to recalibrate, your inner librarian to file away the day, and your inner gardener to tend to the vast landscapes of your mind. As we continue, we will explore even deeper territories. We will look at how the brain creates the vivid theater of dreams and how it manages to keep us safe while we travel through these internal worlds. But for now, just appreciate the history and the science that brought us to this understanding. Feel the weight of the adenosine lifting, the presence of the melatonin guiding you, and the quiet hum of 1 billion neurons beginning their nightly symphony of restoration. The loom is moving, the threads are being woven, and the story of your mind is continuing in the most peaceful way possible. You are a part of a magnificent, ancient cycle. As the world outside grows quiet, your inner world is just beginning its most important work. Stay with this feeling of being a well-tended garden, a library at rest, a harbor in the calm. There is a profound wisdom in your biology, and all it asks of you now is to continue existing in this gentle, supported space. In the quiet, your mind is doing something truly extraordinary. Think of your mind right now as a grand, hushed museum after the doors have closed for the evening. Throughout the day, you have been a busy collector, gathering 1,000 different artifacts, a snippet of music from the radio, the specific shade of a colleague's sweater, the taste of your lunch, and the complex emotions of a difficult conversation. Now, as you lie in the stillness, the curator of your brain begins its most important work. It isn't just shutting down the lights. It's carefully deciding which of today's artifacts are worthy of being displayed in the permanent collection of your memory and which should be respectfully recycled. Observe how your awareness is currently shifting from the outside world to this internal gallery. In neuroscience, we refer to this as a transition in our attentional spotlight. During the day, that spotlight is narrow and bright, focused on tasks and external stimuli. But as you relax, the spotlight widens and softens, much like the way a theater's house lights dim before a performance begins. This shift is physically measurable. At this very moment, your brain is likely moving from those quick, jagged alpha waves into the slower, more undulating rhythms of theta waves, which oscillate at about 4 to 8 cycles per second. Suppose that these theta waves are like the slow, rhythmic swells of a calm ocean. You've experienced this state before. It's that half-awake, half-asleep period where your thoughts become pleasantly nonsensical. Scientists call this the hypnagogic state. In a study conducted at the University of Lübeck in Germany, researchers discovered that this specific phase of relaxation is a powerhouse for insight. They found that participants were more than twice as likely to solve a hidden mathematical rule after a period of rest compared to those who stayed awake. Your mind is essentially a creative workshop that only opens its doors when the conscious ego steps aside. Visualize for a second the way a city looks in the very early hours of the morning, just before dawn. The streets are empty of cars, and the heavy work of maintenance can finally begin. This is a perfect analogy for what is happening within your neural pathways right now. In 2019, a groundbreaking study at Boston University used high-speed MRI to capture something truly stunning. The researchers found that during deep, non-REM sleep, the blood flow in our brains actually decreases to make room for a rhythmic pulse of cerebrospinal fluid. This clear, protective fluid flows into the brain in large, slow waves, precisely timed with your brain's electrical activity. It occurs roughly every 20 seconds. Instead of the frantic rush of daytime activity, your brain is experiencing a gentle, refreshing surge, sweeping away molecular clutter and refreshing the neural environment. It's as if a team of silent workers is moving through the streets of your mind, clearing away the day's debris so you can wake up to a clean, organized city tomorrow. Consider the sensation of the air against your skin once more. Earlier, we talked about how your brain filters out noise, but think of your sensory systems now as a highly sophisticated sound mixer. Deep within the center of your brain sits the thalamus, often called the gateway to the cortex. During active hours, the thalamus has all its faders up. It lets in every sound, sight, and touch. But as you submerge into serenity, the thalamus begins to slide those faders down. Notice how the distant sounds of the world seem to lose their meaning. This is due to the emergence of K-complexes, which are large, singular brain waves that appear during stage 2 sleep. These K-complexes act like the brain's shock absorbers. When a floorboard creaks or a car passes outside, the K-complex suppresses the brain's response to that sound, preventing it from waking you up. In fact, research suggests that K-complexes are the brain's way of saying, "I've heard it, it's not a threat, stay asleep." Your biology is actively protecting your peace, serving as a vigilant guardian while you rest. At this very moment, your body is also undergoing a profound chemical recalibration. Deep within your cells, your brain is producing a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. You can think of BDNF as miracle grow for your neurons. It's a specialized fertilizer that helps repair damaged brain cells and supports the growth of new ones. Studies have shown that levels of BDNF rise significantly during periods of deep rest and relaxation. While you are doing nothing more than breathing and existing, your brain is literally rebuilding its own architecture, strengthening the connections that make you who you are. What's happening now is also a fascinating process of downscaling, a theory proposed by researchers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, called the synaptic homeostasis hypothesis, suggests that during the day, our synapses, the junctions between neurons, become bloated and saturated with information. If they stayed this way, our brains would eventually run out of energy and space. So, during the night, your brain performs a delicate recalibration. It systematically shrinks these synapses by about 20%. It doesn't do this randomly. It keeps the important, strong connections while pruning the weak ones. This is why a problem that feels overwhelming at 10 p.m. often feels manageable at 8 a.m. Your brain has physically cleared the noise to reveal the signal. In the theater of your mind, the actors are also changing. Throughout the day, your brain's amygdala, the almond-shaped cluster responsible for emotions, is on high alert. But as you transition into deeper states of relaxation, the communication between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex becomes more refined. A 2007 study from the Sleep and Neuroimaging Lab at UC Berkeley found that a night of sleep can reduce the amygdala's reactivity to emotional triggers by up to 60%. It's as if your mind is an emotional thermostat, cooling down the heated feelings of the day so that they don't boil over into tomorrow. You are participating in a natural form of overnight therapy, where the brain processes the facts times of a memory, while stripping away the stress times of the emotion. Permit your thoughts to wander toward the idea of the deep ocean, waves, the delta waves. These are the slowest waves of all, ranging from 0.5 to 4 Hz. They are long, heavy, and powerful. During this stage of sleep, which typically makes up about 15% to 25% of a healthy adult's night, your body does its most intense physical repair. It's here that the pituitary gland releases a surge of growth hormone. For a child, this is when they grow taller. For you, this is when your muscles recover from movement and your skin cells regenerate. It is a time of total biological surrender. Think of this delta state as a deep-sea dive. The further down you go, the quieter the surface becomes. The pressure of the world above is gone, replaced by a supportive, weightless environment. In this state, your heart rate and breathing reach their lowest points of the 24-hour cycle. Your blood pressure can drop by 10% to 20%, a phenomenon doctors call nocturnal dipping. This dip is crucial for your cardiovascular health, giving your heart and arteries a much-needed break from the demands of your waking life. It is also during these deep phases that your inner librarian is most active. We know from modern neuroscience that the hippocampus, which stores new information, begins a high-speed transfer to the neocortex, the brain's long-term storage vault. Imagine a library where a small cart is rapidly moving books from the new arrival's desk to the permanent shelves in the back. This transfer happens in bursts, called sharp wave ripples. Studies have shown that during sleep, the brain replays the day's learning at a speed that is 10 to 20 times faster than real life. If you practiced a new skill today, like a new recipe or a yoga pose, your brain is currently practicing it thousands of times in its own internal simulator. Experience the sensation of your muscles feeling like they are slowly melting into the mattress. This physical ease is actually a complex neurological achievement. Your brain is sending signals to your spinal cord to decrease muscle tone, a process that ensures you remain still while your mind explores these internal worlds. Even your metabolism shifts gears. Your brain begins to synthesize more proteins during sleep than at any other time. These proteins are the building blocks of the myelin sheath, the protective insulation that covers your nerves and allows electrical signals to travel quickly and efficiently. You are literally rewiring your system for better performance. Isn't it a comforting thought that you don't have to direct any of this? You don't have to manage the miracle grow of BDNF, or coordinate the pulse of the cerebrospinal fluid, or oversee the transfer of memories. Your mind is an expert at this. It has been perfecting these sequences for millions of years. As you continue to lie here, allow yourself to feel a sense of gratitude for this automatic, internal wisdom. Your brain is a self-cleaning, self-repairing, and self-organizing masterpiece. As the curator of your museum continues to walk the halls, choosing which memories to frame and which to archive, feel a sense of profound trust. The city of your mind is being swept clean. The streets are quiet, the maintenance is underway, and the foundation is being strengthened. Every breath you take is a signal that the work is progressing exactly as it should. You are sinking into a state where the boundaries of the self feel a bit softer, a bit more fluid. As you prepare to move from the world of facts and figures into the world of dreams and symbols, stay with this feeling of being expertly cared for by your own biology. The quiet is your ally, and the stillness is your workshop. Deep within the architecture of your resting mind, a new phase of activity is beginning to shimmer into existence. Imagine your brain as a sophisticated flight simulator. Throughout the day, you have been navigating the real world, but now, the simulation begins. This is the period we know as REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, a stage so vital that every land mammal, bird, and even some reptiles have evolved to experience it. At this very moment, your brain is actually nearly as active as it is during your most alert waking hours. It is consuming about 20% of your body's total oxygen and glucose, fueling an internal world that is as vivid and complex as the one you left behind when you closed your eyes. Notice how your body has become even more still. While your mind is racing through these internal scenarios, your brain has a protective mechanism to keep you safe. Deep within the brainstem, in regions called the pons and the medulla, your neurons are releasing inhibitory neurotransmitters, specifically GABA and glycine. These chemicals effectively mute the motor neurons in your spinal cord. This state, known as muscle atonia, ensures that while you might be running through a meadow or climbing a mountain in your mind, your physical body remains perfectly relaxed and motionless in your bed. It's a brilliant biological safeguard, allowing the mind to explore without the body following suit. Picture this. Your brain is currently acting as a master editor of your personality and your social intelligence. You've experienced days where everything feels slightly off, where you might misinterpret a friend's comment or feel more sensitive to a minor frustration. This often happens because the brain hasn't had enough time to calibrate its emotional sensors. A pivotal study conducted at the University of California, Berkeley, revealed that after a night of healthy REM sleep, the amygdala, that emotional processing center we've discussed, becomes significantly more refined in its responses. Without this rest, the brain struggles to distinguish between a threatening facial expression and a friendly one. By resting now, you are literally sharpening your ability to navigate your relationships and understand the world's subtle social cues tomorrow. At this very moment, your immune system is also reaping the benefits of your stillness. One of the most compelling aspects of deep relaxation is its impact on our internal defense forces. In 2019, researchers at the University of Tübingen in Germany discovered a specific mechanism involving T cells, which are the white blood cells that fight off infections. They found that during sleep, the levels of stress hormones like adrenaline drop, which in turn increases the stickiness of proteins called integrins on the surface of these T cells. This increased stickiness allows the T cells to better attach to and neutralize infected cells. By simply existing in this state of repose, you are empowering your body to be more resilient and effective at maintaining your health. Consider how your mind handles the problems you face today. Perhaps there was a puzzle at work, a creative block, or a decision you couldn't quite finalize. What's happening now is that your brain is entering its most creative workshop. During REM sleep, your levels of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter involved in learning and memory, can rise to levels twice as high as when you are awake. Simultaneously, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that governs logical, linear thinking, goes quiet. This unique chemical environment allows your brain to make long-shot connections between ideas that would never occur to your logical, waking mind. A 2009 study published in the Times Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences Times found that REM sleep specifically enhances the integration of unassociated information, leading to a 40% increase in creative problem solving compared to quiet rest or non-REM sleep. You aren't just sleeping, you are innovating. You are allowing your internal inventor to play with the blocks of your experience, building new structures and finding solutions that will seem obvious when you wake up. Deep within the visual centers of your brain, a spectacular light show is occurring. While your eyes are closed, your primary visual cortex, the area that receives direct input from your eyes, stays relatively quiet. However, the extrastriate visual areas, the parts of the brain that decode and make sense of complex images, become highly active. This is why dreams are so visual and immersive. Your brain is generating its own light, its own color, and its own movement. It is a testament to the sheer power of your imagination that your mind can create an entire reality from nothing but its own internal sparks. Notice how your sense of time might start to feel more fluid. This is another hallmark of the resting mind. In this state, the hippocampus, which acts as the brain's timekeeper for memories, is busy communicating with the neocortex. In a study published in the journal Times Neuron Times in 2002, researchers looked at how we learn motor skills, like typing or playing an instrument. They found that a single night of sleep resulted in a 20% increase in finger tapping speed and a 30% increase in accuracy. The brain doesn't just store the memory, it optimizes it. It's as if you've spent the night practicing in your sleep, refining your movements so that they become second nature. What's happening now is also a process of dream incorporation. Have you ever noticed how a sound in your room, like a bird chirping or a distant siren, can suddenly become part of your dream story? This is a measurable phenomenon. Scientists have found that the brain can take external sensory stimuli and weave them into the narrative of a dream within mere seconds. This shows just how incredibly flexible and fast your neural processing is, even while you are offline. Your mind is a master storyteller, constantly adapting and incorporating the world around it into a meaningful internal experience. As you think about the bigger picture of your life, realize that this nightly ritual is the foundation of your long-term cognitive health. While you rest, your brain is engaged in molecular upkeep. It is synthesizing proteins that are essential for the myelin sheath, the fatty insulation that wraps around your nerve fibers. This myelin is what allows electrical signals to travel at speeds of up to 268 miles per hour through your nervous system. By prioritizing this deep relaxation, you are ensuring that your biological wiring remains fast, efficient, and healthy for years to come. Imagine the millions of synapses in your brain right now. Each one is a tiny gap where a message passes from one neuron to the next. During the day, these gaps can become cluttered with a buildup of proteins and signaling molecules. But in this quiet state, your brain's maintenance crew is at work. One of the most profound discoveries in recent years is how the brain manages its energy budget. By downscaling the strength of certain connections while you sleep, your brain saves a massive amount of energy, roughly 25% of its total daily budget, which it can then reinvest in learning and growth the following day. It is a masterclass in efficiency. Deep within the core of your being, your heart and lungs are continuing their slow, rhythmic dance. In this phase of the night, your respiratory rate may become slightly more irregular, a sign that the brain's autonomic control center is busy managing the complex shifts of REM sleep. This variability is actually a sign of a healthy, responsive nervous system. Your body is not a static object. It is a dynamic, living system that is constantly adjusting and fine-tuning its internal balance. Consider the way your mind feels when it is truly at peace. It's a sense of coherence, where the different regions of the brain are communicating in harmony. During deep states of meditation and the onset of sleep, researchers have observed gamma wave synchronization. These are the highest frequency brain waves, and when they synchronize across large areas of the brain, it is often associated with aha moments and feelings of universal connection. You are tapping into a level of consciousness that is both ancient and deeply personal. As we move forward, we will look even closer at the final stages of this nightly journey, where the mind prepares to fully surrender to the dark. But for now, just stay with the knowledge that you are a participant in a magnificent biological process. You are the CEO of a company that never closes, but right now, the doors are locked to the public, and the most important, creative, and restorative work is happening in the quiet offices of your mind. Your immune system is strengthening. Your memories are being optimized. Your creative problems are being solved. And all you have to do is stay here, in this safe and comfortable space, and let the science of your own body take the lead. The simulation is running perfectly. The flight simulator is navigating through the stars of your subconscious, and you are exactly where you need to be. There is a profound beauty in this nightly transformation, a reminder that even in our most passive moments, we are incredibly, vibrantly alive. Feel the gentle pulse of your own existence and know that you are being restored in ways that are both measurable and miraculous. Imagine your consciousness right now as a high-fidelity recording studio, a sanctuary of soundproof walls and soft, glowing lights. All day long, the master engineer of your brain has been recording dozens of tracks simultaneously: the melody of voices, the percussion of footsteps, the ambient hum of the world. But right now, the session is over. The engineer is sliding the faders down, one by one, focusing on the fine-tuning. This isn't a state of silence, but a state of exquisite, internal harmony, where the mixing of your experiences occurs in the quiet. Observe the physical sensation of the air in your room. Perhaps you've noticed that as you move toward this profound quiet, your hands and feet feel slightly warmer, while your face might feel cool. This isn't a coincidence. It is a vital physiological process called distal vasodilation. Scientists discovered that as we prepare for rest, our brain's thermoregulation center signals the blood vessels in our extremities to open wide. This process radiates heat away from your core, allowing your internal temperature to drop. A striking study published in the journal Nature Times found that people who actively warmed their feet, perhaps with soft socks or a warm bottle, were able to fall asleep up to 20% faster. By warming the edges of your body, you are giving your brain a chemical green light to submerge into the deeper layers of rest. Deep within the center of your head, a tiny, walnut-shaped structure called the thalamus is performing a masterful feat of sensory gating. Think of the thalamus as a sophisticated security guard at the door of your consciousness. To protect your peace, it begins to release a neurotransmitter called gamma aminobutyric acid. This chemical acts like a soft, acoustic foam, coating the neural pathways. Research indicates that during these transition phases, GABA levels in the thalamus increase significantly, effectively blocking external sounds and tactile sensations from reaching the executive parts of your mind. This is why the world seems to retreat into a hazy distance. You aren't just ignoring the world. Your brain is physically closing the shutters to ensure your internal studio remains undisturbed. Consider the peculiar way sense can influence our inner landscape. Unlike your sense of sight or hearing, your sense of smell has a unique backstage pass in the brain. Most sensory information must first stop at the thalamus before being processed, but the olfactory bulb has direct, high-speed connections to the amygdala and the hippocampus, the centers of emotion and memory. Scientists at the University of Pennsylvania have explored how certain scents, like lavender or jasmine, can trigger an immediate reduction in heart rate and blood pressure by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system directly. Even if you only imagine the scent of a crisp pine forest or a rain-dampened garden right now, your brain begins to mirror the relaxation associated with those memories. You are utilizing a neural shortcut to tranquility. What's happening now in your visual mind is equally compelling. Even with your eyelids closed, you might see soft, shifting shapes or colors: indigo, charcoal, or velvet gold. These are often triggered by PGO waves, pontogeniculo-occipital waves. These are electrical bursts that start in the pons, at the base of the brain, move to the lateral geniculate nucleus, and finally spark the occipital cortex at the back of your head. This three-step jump is the physical beginning of dream imagery. It's as if your brain is testing the screen before the feature film of your dreams begins. You're witnessing the raw electricity of your imagination as it prepares to weave stories from the echoes of your day. Suppose we look at the auditory environment you find yourself in. Many people find solace in the steady hum of a fan or the rhythmic patter of rain. There is a scientific reason for this. A 2017 study from Northwestern University investigated the effects of pink noise, a sound frequency that is deeper and more balanced than white noise. They found that when participants listened to these steady, natural rhythms, their slow wave activity increased by nearly 25%. This deeper synchronization of brain waves led to a significant improvement in memory recall the following day. By surrounding yourself with a consistent soundscape, you are helping your brain's neurons march in time, creating a powerful, collective rhythm that carries you toward the deepest levels of restoration. At this very moment, your brain's internal GPS is also undergoing a reset. Deep within the entorhinal cortex, you have specialized neurons called grid cells. These cells act like a coordinate system, helping you understand where you are in space. Interestingly, researchers have found that while we rest, these grid cells replay the paths we walked during the day, but they do so in a quiet, abstract way. It's as if your mind is tidying up its internal maps, ensuring that you wake up with a clear sense of orientation and place. This spatial house cleaning is why we often feel more grounded after a period of deep relaxation. Deep within the brainstem, a tiny cluster of blue-tinted neurons called the locus coeruleus is undergoing a total transformation. During the day, this area is the primary source of noradrenaline, the chemical that keeps you alert, focused, and sometimes a bit on edge. But as you enter this hushed state, the locus coeruleus effectively shuts down. It is one of the few times in your life when your brain is completely devoid of this alertness chemical. This absence allows your blood vessels to relax further and your muscles to lose their tension. It's the neurochemical equivalent of a high-pressure valve finally being opened, letting all the accumulated steam of the day hiss away into the cool night air. Observe the way your thoughts are becoming less like a sentence and more like a photograph. This shift in cognitive style is linked to the interaction between your alpha and delta brain waves. Scientists at the University of Liège discovered that during the onset of deep relaxation, the brain experiences co-occurrence, where the fast alpha waves of the day nest inside the slow, powerful delta waves of the night. It's like a small boat being carried on a very large, slow wave. This nesting allows you to maintain a tiny sliver of awareness while your body transitions into the profound, offline state of deep sleep. It is the very definition of being at ease, aware that you are safe, yet ready to surrender to the depths. Notice how the weight of your body feels now. Earlier, we mentioned atonia, but let's look at the why behind that sensation of heaviness. Your brain is releasing a steady stream of the amino acid glycine. Glycine acts as an inhibitory signal that specifically targets the motor neurons in your spinal cord. This prevents those neurons from firing, effectively unplugging your muscles from the brain's commands. While it might feel like you are made of heavy stone, it is actually a state of total freedom for the brain. Since it no longer has to manage the complex task of movement or balance, it can redirect all that metabolic energy, nearly 20% of your total caloric burn, toward the intricate work of cellular repair and memory consolidation. Interestingly, during REM sleep, your brain temperature actually rises slightly. While your body core stays cool, your brain becomes a hive of metabolic activity. This increase in temperature is a byproduct of the intense sorting and filing taking place. You can visualize this as a cozy, warm glow inside your mind, a hearth fire burning steadily, while the rest of the house is quiet and dark. This warmth is the sign of a healthy, active mind doing the work it was designed to do. You've likely noticed that in this state, your sense of self feels a bit more porous. You might feel less like an individual with a list of tasks and more like a quiet observer of your own biology. This is due to a decrease in activity in the posterior cingulate cortex, a region associated with egocentric thinking. As this area quiets down, the me of the day softens into the us of the night. You are connecting with the universal, biological rhythms of all living things. As we prepare to move into the final phase of this journey, consider the incredible complexity of this sensory environment. Your thalamus is guarding the door, your locus coeruleus is resting, your grid cells are remapping your world, and your brain is being bathed in the restorative foam of GABA. You are a masterpiece of self-regulation. Every scent you imagine, every sound you filter, and every degree your temperature drops is a testament to the sophisticated care your mind provides for itself. Stay with this sense of scientific wonder. Your internal recording studio has found the perfect mix. The tracks are balanced, the noise is filtered, and the master engineer is ready to save the session. You are standing on the threshold of a profound surrender, supported by 1 billion years of evolutionary wisdom. The velvet quiet is here, and it is welcoming you in. Feel the warmth of your hands, the coolness of your breath, and the steady, rhythmic pulse of a mind that is finally, perfectly, and scientifically at rest. At this very moment, we have reached the threshold where the day's narrative ends and the night's deeper architecture begins to take over. You've journeyed through the history of our understanding and the vivid simulations of your dreams. Now, we are entering the final descent, a step-by-step unfolding of how your body and mind fully relinquish the world of action for the world of pure restoration. Consider the flip-flop switch, located in a region of your brain called the ventrolateral preoptic nucleus, or the VLPO. This tiny cluster of neurons acts as the master toggle for consciousness. As you lie here, the VLPO is becoming increasingly active. It is sending out inhibitory signals using neurotransmitters like galanin and GABA to silence the arousal centers in your brainstem. This is a very specific, orderly process. One by one, the lights of alertness are being clicked off. It's not a chaotic fading away, but a precise, biological sequence designed to bring you safely into the harbor of the night. What's happening now is a shift in your stage 1 sleep, or N1, which typically accounts for only about 1% to 7% of your total sleep time. This is the lightest phase, the delicate bridge where you are still somewhat aware of the room. Yet your brain waves are slowing into those rhythmic theta patterns we discussed earlier. During this transition, your muscle tone decreases significantly. You might feel a sudden, brief twitch, what scientists call a hypnic jerk. This is merely your motor system having one last tiny spark before the VLPO switch fully engages. It's a sign that the bridge is being crossed. Notice the way your heart is responding to this change. In this phase of the descent, your heart rate slows to its lowest 24-hour point, often reaching a steady rhythm of 40 to 60 beats per minute in healthy adults. This deceleration is accompanied by a phenomenon known as nocturnal dipping, where your blood pressure naturally decreases by about 10% to 20%. This provides your entire cardiovascular system with a period of low-pressure recovery that is essential for long-term health. Each beat is becoming softer, more efficient, and perfectly timed with your slow, shallow breathing. Picture the chemical environment in your basal forebrain. Throughout the day, We've talked about adenosine, that chemical sleep pressure that builds up with every hour of wakefulness. Right now, your brain is starting to process that accumulation. By the time you reach the end of this journey, those adenosine levels will be at their absolute lowest, meaning that weight you felt earlier today is being transformed into the energy you will need for tomorrow. It's a beautiful recycling project, turning the fatigue of the day into the vitality of the morning. As you slip from N1 into N2, which makes up about 50% of your night, your core body temperature continues its downward slide. Scientists have found that our metabolism drops by approximately 15% during this phase. This cooling is vital because it reduces the metabolic demand on your organs, allowing them to enter a state of low-power maintenance. Your brain is essentially diverting its resources from the hot activities of thinking and moving to the cool activities of repair and regulation. You might feel a sense of profound heaviness in your limbs as this metabolic shift occurs, a literal grounding of your physical self. Deep within your brain's anatomy, the dialogue between the hippocampus and the neocortex is reaching its peak. This is the stage where the save button is pressed on your experiences. Researchers at Harvard discovered that during this period of deep rest, the prefrontal cortex shows a 30% decrease in glucose metabolism. This means the part of your brain that worries about shoulds and coulds is finally quiet, allowing the memory-storing regions to work without interference. They are busy weaving the day's events into the existing tapestry of your long-term knowledge, ensuring that what you learn today is preserved forever. Notice how your breathing has become a slow, predictable wave. This is a sign that you are approaching stage 3, the slow wave sleep. Here, your brain's electrical activity shifts into magnificent, high-amplitude oscillations of less than 1 Hertz. These are the delta waves, the deepest, most restorative brain rhythms known to science. In this state, your pituitary gland secretes a massive surge of growth hormone. In fact, up to 75% of your daily production of this vital repair hormone is released during these deep sleep periods. This hormone travels through your bloodstream, stimulating protein synthesis and repairing the cellular wear and tear of the day. At a microscopic level, you are being renewed. Your skin, your muscles, and your neural connections are all receiving a fresh coat of biological paint. It's quite a feat to realize that while you are completely still, your brain's protein synthesis increases by as much as 30% to maintain the integrity of your neural pathways. This is the internal craftsmanship of rest. Your brain is not just resting, it is meticulously rebuilding itself. It's clearing the neural landscape of metabolic leftovers and ensuring that every synapse is calibrated for peak performance. Experience the sensation of your thoughts becoming like soft clouds. They no longer have sharp edges or clear meanings. They are just shapes, colors, and feelings. This is because your consciousness is shifting from the linear mode of the day to the associative mode of the night. You are yields to the gravity of sleep, a force that is as natural and inevitable as the moon pulling the tides. You don't need to do anything to make this happen. Your biology is programmed for this surrender. At this very moment, your immune system is taking advantage of your stillness. Cytokines, the proteins that help your immune system communicate, are being produced and released at a higher rate. Scientists have observed that during these deep phases of relaxation, the body's natural killer cells become more efficient. By simply staying in this quiet space, you are fortifying your defenses and allowing your body to perform its most essential protective work. The world outside has faded. The museum is closed. The library is silent. The master engineer in your internal recording studio has saved the final track. You are now enveloped in a state of pure biological peace. All the facts we've explored, the delta waves, the growth hormone, the cooling of your core, the clearing of adenosine, they are all working in a seamless symphony to care for you. You are a participant in an ancient, sacred rhythm that has sustained life on this planet for eons. As you yield to the final pull of sleep, I want you to hold on to a few simple truths. Your mind is a brilliant architect, and it is building a better version of you while you rest. Your body is a self-healing masterpiece, and it knows exactly how to restore your energy. You are safe, you are supported, and you are exactly where you need to be. The work of the day is done. The work of the night is a quiet miracle. Allow the darkness to be a warm blanket. Allow the silence to be a gentle lullaby. Your brain is now entering the most profound state of coherence, where every neuron is in harmony with the next. The I that thinks and plans is stepping aside, leaving only the quiet, steady pulse of life itself. Consider these final affirmations as you drift. My mind is clearing and refreshing itself. My body is repairing every cell with precision. I am grateful for this time of deep, restorative rest. Tomorrow will begin with a clean slate and a rested mind. The waves of Delta are rising to meet you now, long and slow and powerful. They are carrying you away from the shore of the waking world and into the deep, blue quiet of the night. There is nothing left to hear, nothing left to see, and nothing left to do. The science of your own mind has brought you to this perfect moment of surrender. Sleep is not just a pause, it is a renewal. It is the breath the soul takes before a new day begins. Feel the last traces of wakefulness dissolve like a grain of salt in a vast, warm ocean. You are the ocean. You are the quiet. You are the rest. As the professor closes the book and turns out the final lamp in the study, know that your mind will continue its magnificent work in the dark. The city of your thoughts is in good hands. The maintenance is underway. The foundation is strong. Yield now, submerge. Good night.